Well, hello and welcome to another episode of More Perfect Marketing. My name is David Baer, and today we're going to be talking about content creation, the use of content in your marketing, your positioning, your authoritative, I don't know what I was going to say there. Authoritative positioning is really what I was going to say, to get people to recognize who you are, what you do, and how you can contribute to their needs and wants and desires and dreams in life as a professional, of course. Because we're talking with Aaron Witnish, who is helping folks in a professional capacity utilize mostly social platforms to build and create content systems that build their own businesses. And I've already sort of fumbled over some of these ideas, but thankfully he's far more eloquent on the subject than I am, and that's why I'm so pleased to welcome him here. Aaron, welcome.
David, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me on the show.
Indeed. All right. So I think, I want to talk a little bit about this concept of authoritative positioning, the thing that I fumbled over a bit, um, as kind of a core of where I want to talk about content, because I spend a lot of time with professionals who are, uh, I think, overwhelmed these days with the amount of hands-on stuff that we need to do. And need is maybe the right, maybe the wrong word there when it comes to marketing our businesses and marketing ourselves as individuals, as professionals. And so I wonder if we can start there and talk about like what the environment is like these days when it comes to the expectations of businesses that are selling through social platforms, particularly those that are based on persona, personality, and relationship.
Well, if you look around, whenever you go outside, you ride on public transport, you'll see a pattern in 90% of the population. Their heads will be down and they'll be looking at a screen. And it almost doesn't matter what age people fall into now. It used to maybe be the younger generations, but I think everyone's adopted the technology. So the businesses and the people in those businesses that meet the audience on those devices are the ones that are going to get the attention. They're the ones that are going to build the relationship with them. So, in a business sense, in a branding sense, if you're not doing that, then someone else that is in the same specialization, the same profession as you, is the one that's ultimately going to have them as a client and be the solution to their problems. So, I think you use the word need in most cases, unless you've got a pre-established credibility that's been built up in the past. Anyone in business that wants to be sustainable into the future really needs to think about building up that position in the marketplace, which it can be in a very narrow sector, which is a one way to stand out fast, or else they're going to get left behind very quickly given everyone's affinity for being on handheld devices.
Brilliant answer in terms of like the fact that this is how we consume these days. I think, one of the challenges that I have in doing this myself, the way that I maybe should be doing it based on, at least anybody who is specializing in content creation or content marketing is thinking through, gosh, there's a lot of work to be done on several levels, right? There's the time that it takes to create it. There's the time that it takes to think about what is that content? What are we creating? Right? There's the time that it takes to figure out how do I move somebody in front of that content. Okay. Then there's the time that it takes to think about how do I move somebody from that content to the next step. So there's four pieces there, and I know that you address a lot of this. And so I wonder if we can walk through those one by one to understand. Now you've built a system around this, which I want to get to, but before we jump into your system, I really just want to contextualize it by talking about those four components as they exist out there now, because that's an overwhelming amount of stuff for somebody to think about doing when they're also thinking about, how do I cover payroll this month? How do I, make sure that I'm serving my clients currently and all the other things that they have to deal with in business. Um, Now, if you want, I can go back and run through those again, or you probably have internalized those because you live and breathe this stuff.
I'll do my best to address them all as I go here, but you can refresh me if I miss any of the points. You're spot on, because if you run a business, you've got all these other priorities that are screaming for your attention: clients, teams, spot fires, systems. So content generally gets pushed to the back of the list, even if you have the best intentions to do that. Then, like you said, you're stuck with this overwhelm. Where do I post it? What frequency? How often? How do I get in front of my target clients? How do I know I'm making the right style of content? What format? And the list goes on. And if you're not a natural content creator, you probably don't necessarily even enjoy the process. So you've got all these variables that lead to not doing it. And the key is simplifying as much as you can. And the first thing is picking a primary platform if you're starting out. Everyone's like, I've got to be on TikTok, I've got to be on YouTube, I've got to be on LinkedIn, Instagram, and that just adds to the confusion. So I always put the question forward: which platform has the attention of your target clients? Which is the number one platform? And usually that's the platform that you primarily use to get your information and engage, build a community for your business. And you probably already have an existing network on there because you utilize that platform yourself. So that's where to start. Okay, I'm just going to focus on building a community on this platform first and foremost to remove all those other moving parts. Then number two is, how do I get it in front of my audience? And the first thing you need to understand is the way that content performs is people have got to click on it when it's in the feed, and then they've got to stay with that piece of content. If your content doesn't do that, it tells the algorithm people aren't interested in this. We're not going to show that to more people. We'll show something else that people want to see, because then they can hold the attention on the platform, show them more ads, make more money for the platform. So for most people, short form content is the best way to go, because it's really hard to create long form content that can retain attention when the average human has an attention span of 8.25 seconds last time I checked on Google. So if you can create short form content that gives a micro dose of value and starts to build a relationship with people, that's more achievable than creating highly produced long form content. So you'll hear them called things like reels and shorts on YouTube, and that's the sub 60-second clips or thereabouts. That is a really good place to start. So you don't have to worry about creating really elaborate pieces of content. You can start with micro doses, and anyone can do that content with their smartphone. There's no barriers to entry. It doesn't cost anything. Most platforms allow you to edit a little bit on the platform, to put captions on it. So there's no excuses for not doing that. The
I
next
want I want
thing,
to just I want to pause right there because, one of the things that jumps to mind immediately is you had been using the word content, and then you specifically really focused on video content. And I wonder if you can talk a little bit before you go on about why video, and obviously there's ease of creation and all those sorts of things, um, as opposed to text, image, and any other format that audio, which was popular for a brief period of time with platforms being built up around specifically audio. Um, the folks over at X still have that feature. I don't go to that platform very much, but I hope that people are using it. Tell us a little bit about why the video.
if you think about it in a business sense, people want to deal with human beings. If you write a post, it only deals with a certain amount of the senses, so people can read it, and a lot of people can write text and it'll be fairly similar, use the visuals. But when you hear and see someone, you can create a completely different dynamic. So it's very easy, if you're authentic, to separate yourself from other businesses, other professionals, other providers. And when you show up on video as well, you're able to accelerate the relationship much faster than you can when you're just doing text posts. So my invitation, as scary as it is for most people, is to go, okay, I'm going to start doing this video thing. I understand that I'm not very experienced with it, so it might not be great in the beginning, but you will find your voice. You will get more comfortable, and you're also showcasing the journey and the story, which is really important for a brand and business to the marketplace. And yes, someone can imitate you or impersonate you, but it's very hard for someone to take the authentic version of you and duplicate that. So if you're real, then you'll attract the type of clients that resonate with you, and you'll repel the ones that don't resonate with you, which is really important, because then you get the best clients, the best audience, the best followers, and the people that you wouldn't want to work with, they deselect themselves. And I think
Mhm.
that's a really valuable tool for building a congruent brand that has the customers and clients that are most aligned with your values and your style. And that creates a really harmonious business. And that's really hard to achieve without video. And anyone can copy and paste text, anyone can use AI to generate text in seconds these days. So it just gives you a whole new layer of advantages that you don't get if you just do text-based posting.
And you do bring up AI, which I'm sure we'll talk about, because how can you not talk about AI these days, particularly in our world of marketing? But it's also very possible to generate video with AI, and the quality, month after month continues to get better, and it's a little scary. In fact, I'm sure you'd agree. So that's coming too, but probably not quite there yet. So we have a little bit of time to be authentic on video for at least a few more months.
Yes, and some of the platforms are already asking you to disclose if you've used synthetic content. YouTube have an option. Are you using any synthetic content? Yes or no? And I think that's fine, because there's a lot of room depending on what market people are in for synthetic content. And people that enjoy synthetic content will watch synthetic content. They'll get shown synthetic content. But I think from a professional service provider standpoint in business, if you can start with original, authentic human content, that's a massive advantage for you versus synthetic content, because transparency, humanization, all those things in a world where we're getting less connected because we're on devices, having that human touch in what you do is going to be a massive asset to your business. So I look at AI as an accelerator, as a hybrid, as a partner that you can utilize in conjunction with authentic, original human content. And if you use the both together, you can get much more efficient, much higher output, much more quality done much faster. But it's always starting with that original, authentic content in the beginning, and then using the AI to repurpose it and accelerate it faster.
And that's probably an extension of your core system. So I want to get to that in a few minutes. I interrupted you to ask about video as opposed to other things, and I wanted to let you finish, particularly around the areas of, like, where does content sit as it relates to a marketing and a selling process, or larger picture.
Yes. So we go back to where we're at with the primary platform. So the next thing you want to look at is, how do I reach my audience? One thing that you can do, and this is part of the system that I'm sure we'll jump into, is finding the content that your target customers are searching for online. So the easiest and free way to do this is, if you take a keyword, and we'll use the financial services example, and that could be investing tips. You type that into Google, you press enter, you scroll down a little bit, there'll be a people also ask section, and that'll start giving you all the queries and questions that people are typing in relation to investing tips. So this is what people are searching for. So you can keep pressing the down or clicking on the down icon, and you're just going to get question after question after question, and you can take all the questions that you can answer and add value to, and now you know you're creating content that people are searching for online, so it should be of interest to them and get their attention. The next thing is, of course, putting it onto the platform at a time that they're most likely to be on the platform and
Mhm.
have the space and capacity to consume content. So depending on your industry, for a lot of sectors, that's in the evening. when people are done for the day, they're busy working in business hours. So that's always a pretty safe time to post content, or earlier in the morning when they're commuting on their way into work. A lot of people work from home these days. And then using a couple of hashtags that are specific to your niche. So if you create content that your target audience is actively searching for, you post it on the platform they're most likely to be on. You post it at a time when they're likely to have the capacity to engage with content, and you use hashtags to get in front of people that are following those hashtags, then all of a sudden you're getting in front of a quality audience. And I think that's really important. It's not about the size, because anyone can do an entertainment piece of content, reach thousands of people, but they might not be your target audience, which means it has no business purpose behind it. So if you can reach 100 people that are trying to solve the problems that you're answering, that's far more valuable than reaching 100,000 people that are not in your target market, that would never do business with you. And when you do that, that's when you're going to have a quality audience, which makes monetization, getting customers and clients, much easier, because they start seeing you as a solution to their problems. Now, to get them to start inquiring or reaching out, when you do content, we use what's called a CTA when there's a piece of content that solves a specific problem. And that's a call to action. All the marketing jargon's fun for everyone, kind of goes over their head. But it could be as simple as, hey, if you want help with this particular problem or whatever it is, put a yes in the comments and I'll check in with you. Or if you've got a link that has a lead magnet or a consult or whatever it is, you could say, just go to the link in my bio and we'll book a private chat and I'll help you with it. Little things like that can start generating inquiries just from your organic content strategy. So that's how we get ideas, we get in front of the right audience, and then we can also start to do little things that can help encourage people to reach out and inquire that would be a fit for the services that you offer in your business.
I want to talk a little bit about the call to action piece that you've just brought up, because I've seen different structures of content that have been recommended by content experts. And there's sort of different stages of what you're putting out there. There's the get to know me, there's the proof of my experience and expertise, and then there's the my offer stuff, and limiting that call to action only to the here's what I do and what I can do for you types of posts. So I wonder if you have a perspective on this. I mean, are there in fact reasons to have, whether it's those categories or others, different types of posts, and what is the, the frequency and all of that which you brought up earlier?
Yeah, you got to look at the intention of a particular piece of content. So it might just be to share an interesting story, so you can showcase a bit of what goes on behind the scenes and bring people into your world a little bit, which can be really good for accelerating a relationship. So, and there you might not have a call to action at all, because that's not the purpose of the content. Or it might be, hey, have you got a question about what goes on here? Put it below, and you're actually promoting engagement. So I think if you're speaking about a specific problem in a piece of content that your target clients might be looking to solve, that's where it's really helpful to put in a call to action, because you can help them further with that problem. So that's where it could be really useful for generating inquiries. So, for example, if I'm talking about how to create 30 days of content in 90 minutes in a video, say, hey, look, if you want help with this particular process, put a 30 in the comments, because we've got a free system that you can download. So that would be a really appropriate time to do that. But another piece of content, I might be talking about, different formats and different platforms. So rather than saying put a 30, I might say, hey, in the comments below, let me know which platforms you utilize to post content on, and start the conversation there. Because once you start going back and forth in the comments with someone, you're actually having touch points. And then in those touch points, they might ask you a question, and that might get, oh, yeah, that's something I can help you with. Do you want to have a quick chat? And then you can actually drive people to a business conversation just by engaging back and forth and letting them put something on the table that you can help them with. So I think it's situational. And if every post you're always saying, hey, go do this, go do that, it's probably not going to help your business too much. But if you can have discerningness and go, okay, this is a good time to ask people to take action because we're talking about a problem, or this is a good opportunity to promote engagement because it's somewhere we can push conversation and have people having back and forth in the comments, and that can help the post get more traction because it tells the algorithm people are responding. Then use that opportunity. So it's very much situational in my opinion, and getting the balance right is a bit of an art, but it's something that you'll get comfortable with over time. But when you see something work really well, you can just duplicate it and do it again because it's shown historically that when I do this, I get a certain output or a certain outcome that happens each time I do it.
I love that. There's a lot of parallels to the way that I talk about email marketing and obviously testing out different types of content to see what's getting the engagement, what's getting the clicks and all of the other things that you want people to do as a result of that content that you're putting in front of them, in my case, through in their email inbox, but also going back and looking at the data, which is a really important point that you've brought up that I think people need to probably invest more time than they already do in understanding, okay, what's working and what's not working. Let's stop doing the things that don't work and let's dial up the things that do. We've been talking for almost 20 minutes here, and I want to finally get to you teased us a couple of times with 30 days of content in 90 minutes, and this is really at the core of the system that you have created and that you work through with folks, and I want to give you an opportunity to spell it out a little bit more.
Yeah, I'll make it practical for anyone that's listening. So it doesn't matter what stage you're at in business, you can do this process. So, what you need, as we alluded to a bit earlier, is the relevant content ideas for your target market. So, it's as simple as going to Google, starting with a keyword, putting that in and seeing what people or what queries come up in the people also ask section. And you grab roughly 12 of those queries a month. There's also a tool called vidIQ if you want to put this on steroids. This is for video content, and it'll tell you how many people are searching for that query a month and what the competition is. So you might find some questions that are very highly searched, but there's very low competition in terms of the amount of content that exists for it. And that's a really good opportunity to get discovered on a platform like YouTube, where it's a search platform as opposed to an interruption platform with a news feed. So what you do is you compile your questions that your target audience are searching for. You might also put in a couple of stories from the business, whatever it is, to bring people into your world. And you might also share some customer case studies or examples. They had this problem, and then this is what we did to overcome that problem and get them to the outcome. So you just mix it up a little bit. Then you need a partner. So for our clients, we're their partner when we take them through this process, but you can get a colleague, a client, which can sometimes be a smart way to do this because you bring a client on and they're asking the questions that you've given them. Sometimes they'll be curious about working with you or a prospective client after that you give these really great answers. And you show up. I recommend doing it on a smartphone in portrait mode because remember, I talked about short form content being much easier to create than
Mm.
long form content. It also performs relatively quickly, even if you don't have an audience or many followers, when you do reels and say shorts on YouTube as opposed to long form. And they've got the questions and they ask you the questions and you hit record. And the platform that we do it on is Google Meet. You can certainly do it on Zoom or Teams, wherever you're comfortable. The reason why we do it on Google Meet is because it puts the file straight into Google Drive, which is where all our systems are.
Mm.
So your interviewing partner will ask you the question. What I usually recommend is repeat the question because that's the search query that you're targeting. So that'll optimize the video and get someone's attention if they come across the video. Your partner hits mute and you just answer each of the questions. And it very much feels like a conversational style. So you're not in your head like you would be if you're staring down the lens of a camera and trying to create content. You've got someone in front of you. So it's a very natural style of delivering and it comes across really authentic. So you go through, answer each of your 12 questions, and that file saves to Google Drive or your computer if you're using Zoom. So now there's a few different ways you can go about it depending on where you're at in your business. If you're just starting out, you're bootstrapping, you don't have a lot of money to put into the process, there's tools like Opus Clip, which do use AI. So if you give your video to Opus Clip, it'll cut it intuitively into clips that you can use on social media. The only challenge with that is it won't necessarily cut the clips that you wanted for each of those questions. It'll just cut whatever it wants to cut. But if you don't have a budget and you don't have a lot of time, it can be a great place to start. You'll also have to edit and review the captions that they put on the videos because they may not be 100% accurate. If you've got a little bit of budget, you can go to a platform like Upwork, any freelancing site, and you can give the video file to a freelance editor that could be in an offshore location and just give them the instructions to cut the clips from each of those 12 questions, make it nice and succinct, sub 60 seconds, and to put your branded captions on that because most videos get played without sound. So that's why everyone has to put the captions on these days and get them to cut those clips and send it back for you. The next step, we'll touch on how to create the written content, is to take the video file, go to a tool like rev.com. Some of the platforms that you record on automatically transcribe for you now. And that'll, in a space of about 5 minutes, give you back the transcription of the conversation that you had when you're recording the videos. Now, you can, again, go to a platform like Upwork, give someone that's a content writer the transcription, say, hey, can you repurpose this into a written post for each of those questions? Or you could take it to a tool like ChatGPT, and then you'll have to train it on how to deal with that to generate the posts that you want. So that's how you create your video content. That's how you create your written content. And then if we circle back to what I was saying about posting it at the right times on the right platforms and using those 2 to 3 hashtags on each post, that's how you tick all the boxes for getting your 30 days of content in roughly 90 minutes. And a lot of our clients now, we have got it down to about 30 minutes because they're so used to jumping on, answering the questions and getting off. So we could almost call it the 30 days in 30 minutes sometimes. So that's how the process works.
I love it, and I love the fact that you're very detailed and transparent about, like, this is what you do as the work that you do for clients, but
Correct.
how one can do it themselves. And I have played around with a couple of the tools. Opus Clip I've used. I found something similar on AppSumo recently called Minvo, which is halfway decent, and hopefully they'll invest enough to get even better. Um, there's a style to those platforms that are I think informed by the popular stuff that Gary Vaynerchuk or Alex Hormozy or some other marketers out there have been using that may not always fit stylistically with certain professions. Like we were talking about, financial advisors. What are your thoughts on, like, what's appropriate and what's not, given what type of business you have, what type of audience you're trying to attract, etc.?
The best thing to do is go to whoever you believe is the front runner in your industry. So who's doing it best right now, and just borrow the clues from them. So look at the style of content that they're creating. How often are they posting? When are they posting it? And if they've managed to position themselves as the go-to, then you don't have to guess how to do it. You just borrow what's working for them. So we've got some clients that are in very narrow sectors. One is a rail engineering firm based in Sydney, Australia, and we only post landscape videos on
Mhm.
LinkedIn and do their written posts. So it's very different to our other clients where it's all in real and short format, and it might be on the meta platforms like Facebook, Instagram. They might also put it on YouTube. So again, it's understanding what is that platform, what is the style of content that is going to appeal to my end user, to
Yep.
my target audience, and then you start curating based on who's doing it well now and borrowing the clues from them.
Well, I'm glad that you gave that as an example, because I think it demonstrates that even though you were sort of outlining the structure of it, that not every bit of advice there was universal. Like the portrait isn't necessarily appropriate for everybody. One thing that I think might be universal, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, is this really great tip that you gave there about repeating the question at the beginning. And I wonder, let's do a non-Facebook meta demonstration of that right now. I'm going to ask you the question, and I want you to repeat it as part of your answer so you can show
Yeah.
people what you mean by this. So why do you need to repeat a question at the beginning of your answer portion of a video?
Why do you need to repeat the question at the beginning of the answer portion of your video? So that's your hook. And you have that microsecond to get someone's attention. And again, remember we spoke about audience quality of the audience. So if your hook get someone's attention, then that means you're speaking to a very specific person, which is what you're trying to achieve. If you say the question, particularly if you're putting a video on a platform like YouTube, you're actually putting the search query in the video, which is really, really important for optimization. When you have the keywords, when you have the title that people are typing in at the start, it instantly tells that platform, oh, show this video or this piece of content that for people that are looking for this particular query. So it actually does a lot of what we call the SEO component on search platforms. And then it also hooks the viewer in that wants to answer that question. If you don't open up your content with a hook, then people don't know why they have to give up their attention to you. So it's a really powerful way to present what the content's about. Then, of course, once you've given the hook, you have to deliver on that promise or answer that question that you've put forward. So it's just a great way to get targeted viewership in and also to optimize to get shown in front of the right audience on particular platforms as well.
And I guess the lesson from this example that we just gave here is make sure to structure the question less clumsily than David just did, because I heard you as you were repeating the question, you're like, that's kind of an awkward way to phrase it, but okay, I'm running with this. So nicely done, Aaron. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for that. So for folks who are interested in understanding a bit more about the work that you do, how you can help them, where can they best go to find out more?
So we have the 30 days in 90 minutes content creation system available for free. So it's a tutorial that runs you through what I described in today's conversation step by step. So walking you through all the tools, how to set it up. And if you go to contentonly.au, you can just put in your name and email and you can download that system. And like I said, if you can be at the entry level where you're just starting out, you can run this system. Those that are more established and just say, hey, you've got all the tools and resources and everything in place. It makes more sense in terms of my time and where I'm at to get some support from other people doing that. Then you've got those two different pathways. So you can download it for free and you can see how it works and start creating 30 days of content in anywhere from 30 to 90 minutes a month.
Excellent. So for those of you who didn't catch that, it's contentonly.au. And if you can't
Yep.
figure out what the AU stands for, just listen to Aaron's accent and you'll know exactly what it stands for. Contentonly.au. Aaron Witnish, thank you so very much. This has been a fun conversation, and I really appreciate all the insights.
Thanks, David. I've had a great time.
Indeed. Folks, you have been listening to More Perfect Marketing. If you know somebody who could benefit from listening to the conversation you just heard, please share this with them. Until next time, I'm David Baer. Take care.